Alright guys, it's the next day. Guess what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this wheel back on and try to get it back off the jack stands so we can unmount or unbolt the engine cradle and get going on that. I did take the measurements off of the shaft for the rear end and all that stuff, and took it to my buddy, and he's gonna go ahead and put it on the lathe and get it all straightened out so we can get that put back on or get that put on when we're ready for it, the sprocket and all that good stuff. So yeah, so now I'm gonna go ahead and bolt this wheel up, let her down, and we'll get on to the next thing. What I'd like to do is get the motor out of the box because I haven't ever had it out of the box. That may be difficult with my shoulder. I don't know. I do have the chain hoist. We might just hook it to that and drag it out of there. So yeah, enough talking. Let's get going. I've got to lift this part up to pull the jack stands out, and I've got to lift this up just enough to get that out. So the chain hoist is at quite of an angle. Without sliding the table over, I can slide the table over, but I can do it this way. I just have to be very careful. So let me grab my gloves, because this chain on this chain hoist came very well lubricated from the factory. And I'm just gonna ease that thing up just a little bit. Just enough to get that board out without sliding the whole golf cart off the table. Tight. We got it. I didn't have anything smaller than this, and I didn't feel like cutting it. So now that that's off of there, whoa, see, wants to slide. I'll have to let that back down and push it. We're good. This chain out of here. Now, all I'm gonna do is kind of hook it to this.
The washer has finished running.
Alright, just up enough just to get the jack stands out of it. Just like that. Now we can let her down easy. Easy. Back down to her normal height, pretty close. Forward reverse box over, and I already see some potential problems. One being that these ears on this rear end are gonna have to come off. So we're gonna have to cut them off so that I can get that back as far as possible. And then I may actually have to do some modifications to the thing that I got from Redbeard. And only reason is this is going to be a tight spot. So that motor is pretty much the size of this plate. Not quite, but pretty close. So we may end up having to cut some off of it on both ends to get it in there. But it's going to be tight trying to fit a big block in there. So my thoughts are I'm going to cut them ears off. And then I guess we're going to go ahead and get the motor out, or try to get it out, and strip it down, because we're not going to be using factory air box. We're not going to be using factory gas tank. And we're not going to be using the factory exhaust. So all that stuff can come off. And that's gonna, it'll drop, I wouldn't say some weight, but it will make it more compact, if that makes sense. I'm hoping that the motor will kind of sit somewhat over top of this, because where the motor is, or how it's set, your head is sloped right here on this side. So I'm hoping that the slope on that is going to be enough to stick the head up higher, that we can still get to our, forward, reverse, and all that good stuff, but have enough room to get everything in here. So as far as the seat and the top goes, if you look here, this rust mark, that's where it actually sits at. So this block, it actually sits on the outside of this block right here. So we've got some room to play with, not a lot, but that's a good thing, that if we have to do a little bit of massaging in any spots to make it fit, we can. Going back further, however, I don't think there's anything I can do. The only alternative, and I really don't want to do it, is get rid of the rear end altogether and run a live axle. Well, the only reason I don't want to do it is it's just so much more work, and I'm trying to use what I got. I mean, it wouldn't be that bad. I'd just have to pull the rear end and put some bearings on, pillow blocks, whatever, and get a live axle kit. But finding a live axle kit that has the same hub pattern as the golf cart wheels is going to be the trick, because most of them, you could get them all day long for go-karts and stuff, but those have screw-on wheels. So we'll see what we come up with. So I guess first things first, I'm going to take the Sawzall and just try to knock these off the best I can, and then try to grind it maybe. least that far. So that should help out a lot. Now, the only question is it enough? So, I don't think I can go any further back. I'll have to look. I do believe that is max that she'll go. I mean, I could maybe grind a tiny bit more and gain not even a fraction of an inch. So it looks like that's gonna have to do. Now let's see if that gained us any room on this. A little, not a lot, a little. So with that being said, we're still looking at 2.5, 3 inches that we're gonna have to come up with. That's always the fun part on stuff like this is trying to make everything work. Doing it in your mind and in theory is no problem. It's coming up with the actual way to do it, you know. I guess let's go ahead and try to get this beast of a motor out of here and see what we can do. So I don't know if I can fit this. I hope I can, because I can't really return it at this point. I guess I could build a, if I would have really thought about it, I could have probably built a 212 to have some decent horsepower and not went with a big block. But I wanted a big block. I don't know. Got a big block on the other one. A big block on this one. I think one of our other videos that I'm going to do, it'll be later, probably after this thing is at least running and moving on its own power, is I'm going to pull her go-kart motor off, which is a 212 Hemi, and I want to build it. Not like crazy build, but I want to build it. So there she is in all her glory. So, like I was saying, there she is in all her glory. I don't know why my camera just cut off. But, yeah. Quick start guide. Yeah. So this thing, I think, comes on a wooden pallet that we're going to have to try to get it off of. And the reason they do that is so, well, for one, it's stable. For two, they can, you can pull it out of the box and start it up and have it bolted to something. So what I'm going to do is just kind of split this box in half and do it that way. Slide it out. So, first look, and yeah, she's a big girl. So let's see what we can do with her and do the unveiling. Oh, anyways, so yeah, let me see. I'm sure she's exactly light. Oh god, not light at all. And we got a couple tools. And in the pack, it did come with new, looks like O-ring and a bowl seal and a set of jets. So I don't know if them are, I'm sure they're factory sized jets. Alright, so I unbolted it from the wood crate piece because it's easier to move around without it on it. I think it takes, well, I thought it was a 12, I guess it's a 13, and then a 10. So I'm gonna have to go find a 13 deep well, and it took me, I don't know, a long time. I had to go to China and Taiwan to find a semi deep well 10 millimeter. So let me go get a 13. Alright, so got our 12 or 13 and 10 to unbolt. We're going to take off the muffler, and we're going to take off the gas tank, which that gas tank is humongous. It's way bigger than the one that came on my Duramax. So let's see. So, with all that off of there, that has helped drop a little bit, but I do see it's going to be really tight. We may have to run, trying to think what you want to call it, may have to run a, I'm brain dead, guys, a set of blocks underneath it to raise it up. Basically like you do on one of the old style go-karts, the motor sat side on the side racing cart, that you could lift it up, which I do think I have some, and if I don't, it's very easy to make out of some square tubing and drill a couple holes. Now this side cover, it's going to come off the pull start because I'm not going to use it. I'm waiting on the part to come in. I bought it from 670 Performance. They make a kit that fits the 459 and the Predator, so I'm sure it would probably fit the Duramax too. It actually, you unbolt this and you unbolt your flywheel nut on this side, just the fan shroud part, and they have a PTO adapter, and it goes in, and you end up having a shaft that comes out, and you can run a V-belt on it, so you can run an alternator. Now, the plan was I wanted to run the alternator over there, but I got to looking, and on that rear end, it does have a very nice spot that I might be able to make a nice mount and mount the alternator back over in here and just run a longer belt that would go down past the carburetor, because you know we're gonna run a pod on this thing anyway. So I'd like to run a Mikuni because they do perform better than the factory, but we'll just jet this carb for now and probably run a pod, and I'm going to make my own exhaust. I don't know how well that's going to work out. I made it work on the other cart. Now I do see on this motor they've got you actually some clamp downs for your throttle cable hookup. But on these things from factory, they are so tight that you got to loosen that nut. Otherwise, you're going to have wide open throttle right off the gate. Couple other things they've changed I did notice is instead of having your ignition switch like the Predator 420 has, you have a push button start, which is pretty neat. I may keep that and just run it up to the front of the cart. I don't know. I really want to do something outrageous and do like remote start, but we'll see. So on this side, if you guys can see it, this is an oil sensor. So in theory, you can actually run an oil gauge to that and get your oil pressure, because this motor actually has a dipper and a actual oil pump that is over here. That's what this spot is, over here on the side of the casing, which is pretty neat. But the downside to this engine, and I've heard it from multiple people, which, I mean, it's a Hemi head, which is awesome. You can get a lot of flow out of a Hemi head, but one, there is no aftermarket parts for this motor as far as performance, except for some valves and a cam. You can't change crank, rod, or piston. And I've heard that the piston rings in these motors are to be desired, that they like to fail. I've seen it a lot. We'll see. Another thing that people are having a problem with is there is no actual bearing on the shaft. So what that means, instead of having a bearing there, that's why it is oil drive. That's what the oil pump does. The oil pump pressurizes that so it runs on oil instead of a bearing. And people are like, it could cause problems, which, I mean, I could see it. I could see it failing if that's a problem. On the plus sides, if you're really beating on this thing, you could run an oil cooler, because it does have an oil pump. The other cool thing is you can, you got your pressure thing. Now, the other downside on this motor is your exhaust. It does not take the same flange as the 420. All right, guys, so a little bit of work off camera there. I got it up in there. So I see tons of problems and lots of clearance problems and no room and all that good stuff. So yes, they fit together, and I've got just a small gap between the head and it, so definitely gonna have to run some kind of spacers underneath it to get that motor at least 2, maybe 3 inches higher to go over top of that transmission some. Potentially on Redbeard's thing, I could trim it down. I really don't want to, because that's a very nice piece and I paid lots of money for it. So that being said, I think I will try to bring the motor up. Now, the plate, of course, the motor is hanging off big time. So I've got to get that plate moved forward. This has got to come off, and we got to get that motor back further, because biggest reason is this thing's air rod, and right now it's laying down. When we lift it up, this part pivots this way, and when it pivots, well, it's going to hit right here. So Definitely got to get that motor slid back at least 3 inches, maybe more. So that's going to be a task. So I'm going to do some messing around with it here and see what I can come up with. But guys, still waiting on parts. I got to order the 40 series for it before I can do much else of lining anything up and getting everything where it needs to go. So with that being said, I got to get ready to go get my little one from school here shortly, and I might come back and do another video. It won't be on this video, but I might do some more. But thank you guys. I'm glad to be back. Hopefully I can do some more videos. Like I said, I've had so much crap going on. But thanks for all the guys that's hung around, and thanks to all the guys that's new and anything like that. If you're not subscribed and you find this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.